Recently, ARES Strategic Mining closed a bond financing, and the strategic importance of this financing can't be understated. The bond financing is unique in many, many ways. It's very rare that you'd see this type of financing occur for a junior mining company. A lot of the reason behind why we went this route is we wanted to raise financing in a significant amount of it, and we didn't want to dilute the shareholders. But two, what we are mining is a critical mineral, and that means it's vital to the economic security of the country. And that's led to an enormous amount of government backing. Ultimately, the government connected us with the state of Utah that issued these manufacturing bonds for the purposes of trying to build out the critical mineral industry within the country. And so we've gone through the entire process, due diligence, the scrutiny of the bond purchaser and the bank that was placing the bonds on our behalf. And we finally closed down the bond on December the 15th. So one question we do get asked is, why this type of financing over a more traditional type of equity financing? And the principal reason is when we set out to do this, we wanted to raise a significant amount of money. And when you raise a significant amount of money, say through equity, the dilution for a company where the share price is low or the market cap is not great would really impact the long-term share structure and the ability of that share price to grow with the development of the company. And so this eliminates that. This is a non-dilutive financing for the benefit of the shareholders. And what's enabled us to do this over, say, other mining operations is that the lead time between securing this money and going to production is unordinarily quick. Typically, you would expect to get a large financing like this and be looking at 5 to 6 years between where you would build up the entire operation and then launch. But effectively for us, because it's such a simple process, we can actually move towards production very, very fast. And this enables us to take on the debt structures. So the equity obviously does not leave a liability on our books, but it can damage the long-term ability of the company to appreciate in value. And that's something obviously we didn't want. I think for anybody examining the structure of the bond financing, it's probably important to realize that rates have gone up quite significantly. And with that, the interest rates attached to the bond have as well. So if we were to go back a couple of years, that 10% would look something more like 3 or 4%. And if rates come down, so will our interest rates on that bond. The good part here is that this is the cheapest possible financing that we could get in the debt space. If we went in equity, obviously there would be an enormous amount of dilution for a financing of this type, and that's something we want to avoid for the shareholders. The bond financing is going to be a form of debt for the company, which we can restructure. It's flexible around us, it's interested in our success, and it's going to be amongst the lowest rates you could possibly find in the world right now. This financing gives us all the resources we need to build out all of the construction that's necessary for the project. And what I mean is it purchases a plant. It covers all the construction, the equipment purchases, the infrastructure costs, and the upgrades to buildings. So with this financing, we've significantly de-risked the company and the future operation. This is the largest financing we've ever done, and thankfully we managed to close it before the end of 2023. This sets us up for big expenditures next year where we can really get going with big infrastructure projects. And ultimately, this means that we will not need any additional financing to bring in to complete this process. So it's huge. It'll allow us to do an enormous amount of work next year. We'll have an enormous amount of resources now to push this as fast as possible. So the company is going to be revenue generating before we really get into the big payments that need to go back towards the bond purchaser. And we've already allocated within that bond financing a significant amount of money that we've just put aside and escrowed for the purposes of covering repayments. And so that'll cover us for at least a year and a bit. But by then, we expect to be producing our assets bar, we expect to be supplying our customers, and we expect that revenue and profit to be coming in. And so we can meet our own, not just repayments, but we'd actually try and like to eventually get to a point where we can start paying back the overall financing a lot faster. And that's the aim here. The margin should be good enough on our product that we can do that. look, the staff have worked incredibly hard to close this financing. So, I mean, from my own point of view, I would really like to thank all the personnel at ARES that have put in work for the past couple of years to enable this financing to be pulled off, because it's very unique and it's a very special situation that you won't see replicated anywhere else. And I'm very grateful to the shareholders just for their patience here, because obviously during COVID, closing these type of financings with the government shutdowns was very, very difficult. And it's needed everything to get back to normal before we could even go through the process of closing this. And finally, we're here. It's been a very good year. We've closed the USDA financing, and now we've closed the bond financing this year. We're really getting going very, very fast now on all the plans we made a few years ago, now that all the obstacles are out the way. So things are looking very bright and optimistic for our company. And hopefully we'll see that reflected soon in the share price, the market cap, and then just general shareholder sentiment.